What's up, y'all, and welcome back to another video on my channel. I know it's been a little bit of time, but we're back on the grind. I promise that, and I will be making videos at a much more frequent rate. I'm really excited about it, so let's get into it. Today's video is all about KAPRIZOV, who just signed the biggest contract in NHL history. We have to discuss this. Let's get right into it. In a rising cap era, these numbers are going to start to seem pretty ridiculous, and that is exactly what this contract seems. But is it really that ridiculous? $17 million per year for 8 years for the Minnesota Wild, bring a total whopping contract of $136 million over 8 years. Obviously, the biggest contract we've ever seen in NHL history. Not for long, I will note, and we'll get into that later. But how does this reflect on what's going to happen to the league and the contracts of the league going forward? Before that, actually, let's get into the player that Kirill Kaprizov is. And I think that he is literally such a good player. I think he's undeniably a top 5 player in this league. If you look at the stats, I'll put them up on the screen. I put them up in a few videos before this because I think it is that impressive of how good he is comparative to his teammates at producing offense. He is significantly better and blows me entirely out the water. A thing with Kaprizov is that has been his health history and his injury history, and that's obviously a big concern for a star player making, $17 million a year. But if they can keep him healthy, Minnesota's got one of the best players in the league in their hands, and they tied him up for 8 more years. That is huge. I don't think there's going to be a single Minnesota Wild fan thinking, oh, we overpaid for Kirill Kaprizov. And that may be a thing that surprises a lot of fans because just a few years ago, when Austin Matthews signed or when Leon Draisaitl signed, that these guys are making $12, $13 million, and that's the most in the league. $17 million seemed to come out of nowhere, but we have to remember that it's in a rising cap scenario. With that being said, it's still a ton of money. And what's it going to mean for our future free agents? There's 2 absolutely massive names in free agency this year, one being Connor McDavid, of course, other one being Jack Eichel. Let's start with Eichel because I think McDavid is a bigger conversation because he could be, I don't even want to get into it yet. Let's just get into Jack Eichel. And starting with him, I think he is probably going to be asking for somewhat similar to Kirill Kaprizov. I mean, why not, right? He's been an amazing, amazing player, over a point per game kind of player. He won the Stanley Cup. He can be a leader on the team. He's excellent, but I honestly did not think he was going to be asking for much more than, 13, 14 million, which is still a ton of money. But now we see Kirill Kaprizov signing for $17 million. Why not ask for that too if you're a Vegas Golden Knight and Jack Eichel? He's proven his worth, and it goes to show how much these contracts are going to continue to rise and rise and rise. It's interesting because obviously the Leafs, I'm a Leafs fan, you can see it right there, but the Leafs have signed a lot of big contracts that did not go over well, and that's just because the cap was not rising at the time. Now we should be seeing a constant cap rise of at least a few $1 million every season, which is obviously huge to give cap relief to these teams. Giving a player like Kirill Kaprizov 17 mil back in the day would have been catastrophic, completely unforgivable because there was such a little bit of cap space to work with aside from that. But if you look at that 8 years from now, the Wild have $20 million more cap space than they do this year just because of the raise of cap per year, hopefully all going well. So you pay for the player. You pay for an excellent player, Kirill Kaprizov. He's actually my dark horse to win MVP this year. I think he is such a valuable player to the Minnesota Wild. Is he the best player in the league? Connor McDavid is the best player in the league. Let's not deny that. But he is completely excellent. He can put up 50 goals, 100 points, and he could be one of the best players in the league, maybe the best player, at least the most valuable player in the league to a Minnesota Wild team that desperately needs him to play like an MVP-level caliber player. But now we have to talk about future Toronto Maple Leaf, I'm joking, kind of, Connor McDavid. What will he be looking for in his next contract? Let's not beat around the bush here. Connor McDavid is in his prime right now. Obviously, he's had a couple of rough seasons with Edmonton, making the Cup final, not able to cross that threshold. But when it comes down to it, will Connor McDavid stay in Edmonton? Nobody knows yet. He's been very much not transparent with his wishes. He's been answering questions a little strangely, which is surprising to me. He's always been a very stand-up player in these interviews and things like that, and he loves the city of Edmonton. We all know that, and him and Leon Draisaitl have a great friendship, so I'm very surprised at how he's going about this. Aside from where he's going to be playing, we have to talk about how Connor McDavid's contract ends next season on his $12.5 million per year contract, and seeing that Kirill Kaprizov has got $17 million on the market, well, not on the market, but from a team, will McDavid ask for even more than that? Could we see the NHL's first ever $20 million average annual value contract? I think that is it sounds crazy to say, but this is Connor McDavid. You pay your best players, you pay the best player, and I honestly think that almost every team in the league will be okay with taking a massive chunk out of their cap to add a player like that. Also interesting to note is that Kirill Kaprizov did not even go to the open market, where he maybe could have even got more money. You know, a team like Chicago Blackhawks was very rumored to want him. Maybe they could have offered him up to upwards of $18, $19 million, considering all the cap space they have. Will McDavid hit the open market? If he does, could he reach over $20 million a year? Or will he sign with Edmonton? Will he be traded? I very much doubt that, but anything can happen nowadays. We've really seen such a crazy change of events in the past few seasons, and this is a very, very important conversation topic. While the Kirill Kaprizov contract might seem like an isolated incident when it comes to this own player getting his own contract for his own team, this is going to send shockwaves around the NHL. These players are going to be asking for more and more money because this is it completely shatters, the past most AAV in a contract, the most term and money in a contract. It's one of the craziest contracts we will ever see in the NHL, at least for the time being. Like I said, going forward, the cap raising, anything can happen. But I will say that this is going to be a completely shell-shocking thing to the NHL. Connor McDavid, better keep an eye on him because he could be asking for ridiculous money this offseason. And you know what? Why wouldn't you give it to him? So that's the video for today. Kirill Kaprizov, congratulations on your new contract. I'm a big fan. I hope he plays very, very well. But what ramifications will this have over the league? We have to take a look and find out over the next season or the next few seasons. Thanks again for watching. I really appreciate all your time today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think about the contract down below. What do you think about Jack Eichel and Connor McDavid's future contracts? And yeah, thanks so much for the support. I really appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Take care.